Welcome back to my YouTube channel, guys. I need more coffee. It's not a Faith Friday if I don't have a coffee to guzzle. If you are new here, you have stumbled across a Faith Friday video. Every Friday here on my channel, I post a faith-related video to help you pursue and deepen your faith, as well as hopefully just put some positivity and light out in as well as just put some positivity and light back out into the world. Just go ahead and dive right in. I am actually filming a lot of videos today, so if I look literally the same as I do in this video in the next Faith Friday, it's because I filmed them on the same day because I am currently out of the country for 10 days on a missions trip, so I wanted to be able to still get this video up for you guys. Today's video title is going to be How Great Is Your Faith? I was reading back through some of my old notes and I saw this page and I was like, that is something I needed to hear, so I'm guessing you guys probably need to hear it too. It's so cool looking back on old church notes and being like, dang, that was a knowledge bomb, that was a truth bomb, and you always need to hear it. That is why I always save my journals. Piece of scripture that I want to reference back to is Matthew 9 verses 18 through 34. Jesus raises a dead girl back to life, heals a sick woman, heals a blind man, and a mute. It's a lot of stuff. It's a lot of healing, it's a lot of power, and it's super cool to look at the message that is being portrayed through these verses. So if you look at verse 21, it says, if I only touch his cloak, I can be healed. This is the woman who has been sick for 12 years. If you guys don't know this story, you should definitely read it. She's been bleeding for 12 years, been pretty much miserable, I cannot even imagine. And Jesus was coming through this town and she knew he was going to be coming, and in her head she was like, oh, she knew who Jesus was, she knew what he was capable of, and she was like, if I could only just touch his clothing, I will be healed. That's how powerful Jesus was in her eyes. That's how respectable and amazing he was in her eyes, that just a simple touch of his clothing was gonna be able to heal her. That was how deep her faith was rooted in his power and his ability. She reached out, she's going through the crowd of people, came up behind him, and she touched his cloak. And Jesus turns and says to her, take heart, daughter, for your faith has healed you. And she was instantly healed. And that one little phrase says a lot about the faith that we are called to actually have. And I feel like we all lack it. I know I lack it. It's really hard in today's age to believe like that, and we believe without seeing. Obviously, Jesus isn't walking around the earth right now, so our faith is based on things that we haven't seen. Her faith was so deep, it was so strong in the fact that she knew he was the healer. She knew that he was powerful. She knew that he was the Messiah. She just knew that he was bigger than her. He was able to do things bigger than her, and she had complete trust in his abilities, so much to the point that just touching his clothes, she knew would help her. And he turns and says to her, your faith has healed you. God calls us to have that level of faith, like that level of faith in his abilities to do things. And God always follows through. God is always faithful, but we are not. Our faith sometimes is so little. Like sometimes I look at myself and the amount that I try to trust my own abilities and the amount that I worry and I'm thinking, well, how am I gonna do this? Or I feel like I'm kind of trying to micromanage God. I'm like, yeah, God, I kind of trust you to do this, but like, let me help you a little bit. You know, that is not the faith that we are called to have. I wanna be like this woman who knew without a doubt, like, let me just get a little bit closer to him and I know he can fix my problems and take this away from me. She was 100% confident that through Jesus, her lifelong, 12-year-long miserable pain would be taken away from her. Her faith was grounded and hopeful, and that's the kind of faith that we're called to have. And later on in the same chapter, two blind men approached Jesus. When Jesus saw them, he replied, do you believe that I can do this? And they both said, yes, Lord. They replied, yes, Lord, and they were healed. That says a lot too in that one simple interaction. Do you believe that I am able? Because God is calling us to a higher level of trust and it's a more intimate relationship with him when you 100% believe that he is who he says he is. He is the God that he says he is. He is capable of what he says he is capable of doing. But do you believe that? Do you really believe that? All over the Bible it tells us to pray with 100% confidence. Pray believing that he will answer. Like, doubt is such a toxic thing that has rooted into our life. Doubt has rooted deeper and deeper to where it makes our faith not so much what it should be. Our faith should be like these two blind men and this sick woman, to the fact where they knew what he was capable of because they had heard it, they'd seen it, they had heard about him, and they trusted that he was who he said he is, and they were healed. And that's exactly what we're called to do. It's really hard to do, but at the same time, it shouldn't be, because he's never proven us wrong. He's never let us down. He's never said he was going to do something and not fulfilled it. He's never made a promise that he didn't keep. He's never not been able. He is able. And I just have a couple review questions that I want to leave with you that I wrote down in my notes as well that I kind of thought about. I wrote, how great is your faith? Are you confident and hopefully awaiting him to follow through with his word? Are you actually believing that he is who he says he is and he will keep his promises to you? Do you actually believe that, or are you constantly going through your days with worry and fear and wondering if he's actually going to show up? When our faith is great and deeply rooted and grounded in him, we see him show up more powerfully in our lives because we finally have the perspective to actually see, oh yeah, that is God. These sick and hurting people knew that if they could just get to the same room or even in the same vicinity as Jesus, that they could be healed. That's how powerful Jesus was in their eyes. And so I wrote, get close and cling tight to him. Get as close as you possibly can, nestle up next to him, link arms with him, spend time with him, get as close and as intimate as you can with him, and let that deepen your faith. The more you learn about his character, the more you learn about who God really says that he is and what he says he can do through you and for you, the more closely you cling to those things, the deeper rooted and the deeper grounded that your faith will be, and the more that you will be able to see how he's working in your life, and the more you will be able to pray big prayers, pray powerful prayers. And I also wrote down at the bottom, which I thought was kind of funny, when I was taking these notes, this worship song popped into my head. I will link it down below as well, but it's called Take Courage by Christine DiMarcio. The lyrics make me cry. It says, take courage, my heart, he's in the waiting. God is in the waiting. There's something really powerful about someone whose faith is strong enough to persevere through a very long waiting period. And when you're just waiting on God to answer your prayers, or waiting on God to move, or waiting, there's a lot of waiting in our life and in our faith, and God is in the waiting. I think God uses waiting periods and waiting seasons to really sharpen our faith, and it takes a lot of courage to go through those periods and trust who he is. I think that God gives us those seasons to realize the more that we lean into him and the more that we trust him, those waiting periods are less stressful and less worrisome, because you're not waiting as if it might not happen. You're waiting because you know it will. You're just waiting on the when. So in these passages, God healed 4 people. He healed 2 blind men. He healed a sick woman, a woman who had been sick for 12 years. People probably told her to lose hope after 12 years of being sick. He healed people just by saying you're healed, just by touching them. And he's the same Jesus then as he is today. So why shouldn't we have the same faith that he will do those type of things today? Because he's the same God. He doesn't change, but our faith has changed, and we need to re-ground ourselves and make our faith as strong as those people back in the Bible times, as strong as their faith was in his abilities, because the same God that did those miracles is the same God we serve today. So those miracles are absolutely 100% capable of happening today. He is capable of doing them. He is doing them, but we don't have the faith to see that or the faith to believe that. So I just want to leave you with, how great is your faith? What do you need to do to make your faith greater? What's something that you can do in this waiting season? What's something that you can do to get closer to him and cling tighter to his promises and his abilities? and I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button so that you don't miss out on future videos from me. And as always, make sure you go out of your way to be kind to someone today, make them feel extra special just because they are, and I will catch you in the next video. Bye guys.